Go ahead.
Ready to go? All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Jen, will you take roll, please?
Commissioner Corbin.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Waldner.
Here.
Commissioner Thill.
Here.
And Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no appearances, is there anything someone wants to remove from the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, under new business, approve the Madison Municipal Airport Emergency Plan. And that, Doug, do you want to come up to the microphone and speak to that, please?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think it was probably about September, October of last year, when the mayor came to me and said that he would like to have me help work on an emergency plan for the airport. I believe there were some concerns with a grant, and also just one of those things that's kind of the right thing to do. So we have a draft plan that's been reviewed by the airport board, also been through the administrative office. A couple minor corrections made to it, and I think we're ready to present it.
And the fire department?
In the fire department, correct. Yeah, we had a group got together, included police chief, fire chief, search and rescue, all the different emergency functions, as well as representation from the board that reviewed it first, and we're involved in the process as we went through and made and created the plan. So with that, I'd like to do a real short PowerPoint. Can I talk about some of the highlights?
Please.
So the purpose of the plan is basically to facilitate timely and appropriate responses to emergencies at the airport. Principal goal is to just make sure that we are able to render the necessary assistance, minimize any further injury, damage to people, property, equipment, and provide a good response. And then the secondary purpose is to comply with any current and future grant requirements, because we know that DOT is requiring airport emergency plans. Actually, in the state of South Dakota, there's only about 1/3 of the airports that have emergency plans. So this is putting us in that minority that's on the right side of that number. Scope basically applies to everybody at the airport, the tenants, visitors, vendors, employees, and also to the emergency response organizations. All the response organizations that would typically respond out there were involved in the planning of this, or creation of this plan. Also includes city infrastructure, since it's a city airport, for electric, and the public works that may have to do any kind of cleanup after, say, a storm or tornado, something of that nature. This basically goes through the roles that each person would play. There's actually a very detailed description of what each person's responsibility would be. A couple of the key ones, you got the airport manager. He's basically on the hook for coordinating any kind of response and overseeing all the operations. Mayor's got a big one here with the public information operations, because anytime you have an aviation accident, the public information is always a major component about what's getting put out and make sure it's accurate, timely. Madison Fire Chief then also has a large role. Search and rescue would operate under the fire chief, and they would take care of the extraction. Fire chief would have, in most cases, the overall incident command if there was any kind of an accident, fire, or anything of that nature. Police chief has security on the airport. Sheriff would have scene security outside the airport if it was an aircraft that overshot a runway or some other kind of a accident that landed off of the municipal property. Some of the types of emergencies, obviously aircraft incidents, accidents, natural disasters. Tornadoes are quite often devastating to an airport. Large open space, flat roof buildings are fairly flat, tin. Bomb incidents, probably not a major threat here. Radiological hazardous materials, we do have crop dusters operating out of here. There's always a possibility of some kind of medical supplies or plane diversion. Structural fires, and then power failure for the lighting could cause an incident. 3 forms that are included in here. We tried to make this as basic as possible. The bomb incident, standard FBI form. Aircraft incident, we adapted that from the FAA template, very few changes to it, just to adapt it for our letterheads. Same thing with the missing aircraft incident report. 4 tables involved. The airport emergency responsibilities I alluded to earlier for each one of the emergency response, also for the city agencies. The emergency contacts list, and that's for the emergency contacts at the airport, fire, police. Buildings contacts list. We've actually got quite a few hangars compared to a lot of similar sized airports. This is a pretty busy one for a small community. So we'll have a building contacts list. That'll be actually completed once the plan is adopted. Most of that will be cell phone numbers that don't necessarily need to be made public. That'll be maintained with several of the agencies dispatch and with the airport itself. So those will be available. And then a distribution plan. 2 figures or maps, buildings and facilities map, and standby positions. This was perhaps one of the most key things that came out of the planning for this. The buildings were not numbered, and we got to discussing if somebody was to have a hangar in one of the 20-odd hangars out here, how would we get an ambulance to the right place, especially if the person was calling for themselves inside a hangar where, you know, if you didn't know whose hangar was whose, you wouldn't necessarily know how to find them in all those buildings. So I believe all the buildings are numbered, at least they have the number plaques for them, and they're being put up. And then it was an organized plan to make sure that they're organized sequentially. And I believe they're also gonna number the streets with signs of what hangars, what group of hangars were on each one of the 3 streets there. This map also has the door locations, allow the emergency responders to plan a little better. Has the hazardous materials, basically the fuel tanks, has the fire hydrants located, and then of course,